Too many dogs and too few dog owners. The rescue plea is out. Critical Critters, tomorrow at 6 on Channel 3 News.
Tonight, mission accomplished. A Canadian rocket man comes home.
An absolutely incredible experience.
A loving son's lonely vigil. Heartbreak over a shortage of doctors in Quebec. And tiny talent. A 6-year-old piano prodigy.
CTV News with Sandy Ronaldo. Sitting in, Dana Lewis.
Good evening. Space. It is a lovely place to visit, but home is where the heart is for Canadian astronaut Dave Williams tonight. Williams and his Columbia crewmates can now settle into warm beds after 16 weightless days of orbiting the Earth. Before hitting the sheets, however, they underwent a series of tests and a lengthy news conference after touchdown this afternoon. CTV's Mark Sickstrom reports.
It was a perfect landing at the Kennedy Space Center, even though one of the 3 units that powers the shuttle's hydraulic system was having cooling problems.
Welcome home, Columbia. Beautiful landing, Rick, and congratulations to you and your crew on a historic mission that elevated neuroscience research to record heights.
For 16 days, Canadian astronaut Dave Williams and his crewmates conducted a variety of experiments, including catching a ball to see how the brain compensates for the lack of gravity. And he helped care for a virtual zoo of experimental animals, including fish, snails, and rodents, including some rats who learned to walk while in orbit. Their brain development and adaptation to weightlessness will be closely studied.
You know, for me personally, this mission was an absolutely incredible experience, and I could go on for quite a while about what it's like as a first-time flyer flying in space.
Williams is a physician and surgeon who performed several experiments examining the relationship between blood pressure and dizzy spells.
And all of a sudden I bring my head back and the whole world starts to spin. Now I know what vertigo is, and now I can relate to all those patients who have problems with balance disorders.
The scientists are delighted with the scientific data collected.
Scientists received more data than they ever anticipated, and it's top quality.
So successful that NASA may send Williams and the Neurolab up again this September. For the first time in 2 weeks, Dave Williams will be able to go to bed without a lot of sensors attached to his body. But the 16 days he spent wired while asleep will help doctors here on Earth better understand motion sickness, insomnia, and could lead to new treatments for low blood pressure. Mark Sickstrom, CTV News, Washington.
A major American magazine says United Nations Chief Kofi Annan knew about the plans of the Rwandan government to murder hundreds of thousands of minority Tutsis. The New Yorker also reports that Annan ordered UN peacekeepers commanded by Canadian General Romeo Dallaire not to intervene in the slaughter. For years, the public has known high-ranking UN officials knew about the Rwandan government's plans to wipe out the Tutsis. But not until now, the magazine alleges, was Annan clearly implicated. The New Yorker says it has obtained a copy of the order showing Annan's involvement.
The fax has Annan's name on it as a matter of form because, of course, it's his ultimate responsibility. So he was made aware of the correspondence within, well, it was put on his desk within 24 hours.
General Romeo Dallaire had called for action by the peacekeepers he commanded, but Annan's office is said to have told him not to intervene.
The reason they give is, well, there was no will in the international community to take action, and such an action as Dallaire was contemplating would have been outside of the peacekeeping mandate.
At least 500,000 Tutsis were slain during a 3-month campaign in the spring of 1994. Several Cuban political prisoners are packing their bags tonight, getting ready for a brand new life right here in Canada. 3 and perhaps even 4 Cuban dissidents and their families will be set free and should arrive here tomorrow night. The move comes just days after Prime Minister Jean Chrétien's visit to the communist island. More on the story now from Marcy Ian.
This is the only picture Ishmael Sambra has of his 27-year-old son, a political prisoner in Castro's Cuba. Like his son, Sambra also spent what he calls 5 hard years in jail.
Stay in prison in Cuba is a slow death.
Sambra was released a year ago and exiled to Canada. He started to build a life here with his wife and 2 younger children. Sambra is a writer in residence at Toronto's York University. but still thinks of a son he left behind.
When I was free, my son is in jail, and I suffered for that.
Prime Minister Chrétien's recent trip to Cuba could help Ismael Sambra's biggest dream come true. Chrétien took a strong stance against political imprisonment and pressed for democracy. Sambra says he's now received word that his son and others could be released as early as Monday.
There are still 300 political prisoners, and I think that the visit of Prime Minister Chrétien clearly helped to prepare the way for the release of these other political prisoners.
Last month, Canada became home to 14...
Air can reflect the